So I'm so fond of drinking, I'm carrying my own drink. Well, thank you very much for having me over. Uh, it's an absolute honor to be here, especially amongst dignitaries here. Thank you very much. What the topic was print and beyond. So what I've tried to capture, essentially just 3 points. Quick introduction about who I am, what I do, and what our company does. Second, what I personally think 2030 would be in print, what it would be for print. And again, these are my personal thoughts, my personal views. And third, what we are doing today, what we have been doing in the last few years about what is about to happen. So how we are getting ready for 2030. So Kumar Labels was established in 2007. We started with a letterpress machine, intermittent letterpress. So very interesting when when I was looking out to start the business, I went around and I asked all customers, our prospective customers, what are your challenges? What would you like us to do? I'm trying to enter this industry. And everyone said that we're not getting high quality, we're not getting timely deliveries. That means it's taking too long, and the suppliers are not willing to do short runs. And then I met equipment suppliers, and competition. I met label printers. And everyone asked me to buy a Mark Andy press, a Flexo press, and which could do very large volumes, very efficiently, not with great quality in those times because of the limitations of pre-press. And the whole process would take too long. So it was interesting. The industry said, use this. The customers said they want something else. So instead, we were the first ones to install a Korean letterpress with a very clear strategy of doing short runs and high value labels. So we were able to get orders in the morning and deliver them the same day. The same day, by evening, we were able to deliver 10, 20, 30, 40,000 labels and had very good margins. We continued expanding with letterpresses until 2011. 2012, we invested in Flexo, changed our strategy, and started moving towards longer runs. And as we did that, we realized very quickly that in labels and like other products, monocartons and others, there are two limitations for scalability. One was your balance sheet part of things, which is the high investment in equipment. The machines were terribly expensive. I mean, and I come from an engineering background. It was fun for me to see, okay, how many servo motors, how many tons of the frame, and what electronics and what should be the cost of this machine. Because I did this when I was working with Corning. We used to make special purpose machines for our business and spend millions of dollars. And when I calculated, it turned out that the equipment that we pay for, if we continue buying that, we would probably only be working for the banks. We would probably not make enough money for ourselves. So 2012, we decided that we'll manufacture machines. It was a crazy idea, very, very crazy. But now when I look back, I think that was the smartest decision we made. Today we are working with primarily all Indian machines and a lot of machines that we've manufactured ourselves. Also, the second limiting challenge, the second challenge we had towards scalability was our raw material. So the top suppliers of the industry, chose who to sell at what price. So to a label printer A, they would sell at 20 rupees a square meter. To a printer B, they would sell at 25. So essentially, they controlled my P&L. And that didn't make sense. So I'm putting in the money, I'm working hard, but someone else decides my P&L. So we backward integrated into manufacturing label stocks. Label stocks are those sticker papers for the non-label industry folks here. So with these two things, in 2013, we were able to very quickly scale up. We were able to do both short runs with our letter presses and long runs with our flexo presses. We scaled up in 2020. We established a plant in Goa. 2022, we established a plant in Indore. 23, we separated the label stock unit and set up a different plant for producing label stocks. And very happy that 23, we were 100%, we became independent. We today do not buy a square meter of label stock from anyone else and produce everything for our consumption and for consumption of some of the other printing companies as well. And 2022 also, there was an interesting challenge we realized, that the third limitation to scalability in our industry was people. We just couldn't find enough people. Even if we were to build our machines, even if we were able to build cost-effective raw materials, who's going to run the show? We just didn't have enough people. So we established a small training center. It's a combination of an instructor and one of the machine operators. And day in, day out, all their job is to bring in talent from the local ITIs, from local colleges, and train them to become either an operator or an assistant or a supervisor. So with that, today, in 2024, we produce about 200 million labels each month for both FMCG as well as for the liquor industry. Just some pictures from our facility. That's our office. It's our printing setup. Again, the print shop floor. This is the label stock quota. Arvind, don't see them too closely. Okay, please close your eyes. Sorry, kidding. That's our emulsion line. And on the left is the machine that we used to manufacture, and we've exported about a dozen of these to first world countries, not to the Africas and the Bangladeshis of the world, but these machines are installed in France, UK, US, Korea, Turkey, a lot of other places. And on the right is a very recent installation. This is a 10-color flexo press, which we have built with a partner, but it's designed by me. So with this, we are able to now cut our investments in presses to a very large extent. So what would 2030 be, in my view? So in terms of customer requirements, I did some math. I feel that with the 8% growth in the label industry, the volumes will probably double by about 32 to 34. So in about 10 years or so, the volumes were about double. But more than that, the value of the industry, the GDP of the label industry will probably double much sooner, because premiumization will kick in, and it is already kicking in. So demand also for very high quality, and if you see the word function, not necessarily color. I know some people here would differ with me, but I feel that a lot of other countries, where in India we are so nitty-pricky about color, our customers reject the consignment even, if it's a little off. It doesn't happen in many other countries, at least in the label industry. But the demand for quality will be in form. So for monocartons, for example, it has to run on automated lines. So everything on our customer side would be so automated. Like for labels, our customers are today demanding us labels fit enough to run at 400 BPM lines or even 600 BPM lines. So how do you make a label so consistent that your die cuts are perfect, your gaps are perfect, your material, your release forces are perfect, that on 600 BPM lines, your labels can run as fast. So in terms of form and function, the requirements of quality, in my opinion, will get more and more tough. If we see how our consumption is today in the country, it's a pyramid, right? So we have, and I'll take liquor examples. So Imperial Blue will be the largest selling, that segment, which is rupees 300 or less kind of a liquor. Then you have Royal Stag, which would be at 500 rupees. It doesn't sell as much as Imperial Blue, but still has a broad base. And then you sell Blender's Pride, which is 800 rupees, but a little less, and then 100 pipers, and it becomes, the single malts are sold only about 6 lakh cases in the country today. In the next 10 years, this pyramid will invert. You will see as we make more and more money, as the middle class grows, we will see that more and more people will drive better cars. We see it today. Alto doesn't sell as much as Swift Desire and Swift. More SUVs are sold today than the hatchbacks. So labels and of course packaging, premiumization is what definitely by 2030 and beyond, premiumization would really, really be a big trend. Another interesting thing that I see even today from our customers, that a lot of customers are now finding it difficult to even afford very large procurement teams. So where there used to be 6 people in procurement, they're trying to bring that down to 2 by automating their ordering system. Which means that us as printers, we need to be ready with our ERPs so that we can accept their orders automatically and then send them updates automatically. So there would be no one who would be following up with you for orders. Your share of business would solely depend on your quality, your OTIF, on time and full performance, delivery time, and your price. So all 3 things together will define how business will come. The interactions between the customer and the printer in the coming times with technology and with a lot of automation will reduce. Very sorry for using this word here, but very often as printers we are very familiar that to get a piece of business, say, "Aapka kya hai? Aapka kitna hai?" So we keep a little kickback for either the print buyer or the quality guy or the plant guy, whoever. With less and less interactions with the customer and with more and more automation kicking in, this thing is going to completely go away. With more companies becoming compliant, listed, this will completely go away. And like what Sahil said, the area where art is involved, I personally, consider print as science and art. Like you said, mathematics, Arvind, print is all mathematics. There is an element of art as well to it. But for the smaller companies, the more the element of art, extreme levels of profits can be derived from there. Extreme levels. I mean, the kind of work Sahil is doing today, in the coming times, in the next 10 years, I feel there would be fewer people, much fewer people who would do that. Definitely not the larger print houses. They would not be able to innovate so fast. Basic inertia. And you'll see that on the next slide why. But the smaller printers focused on art will become very, very profitable, much more than today. On the business size and technology, how things will change 2030 and beyond, in my opinion, we will see a divide uh, in the businesses. Today, we see a lot of businesses like mine, which are in mid-size, right? Going forward, it would either be very agile, very art-intrinsic businesses like what Sahil runs today, or very large businesses which are either private equity driven or which are listed like Arvind's business, which are very large. These are areas how growth will happen. There will be a lot of consolidation, I feel, so that today there are 2,500 or 2,600 label printing companies in the country doing only about 5,000 crores of revenue. I feel that this would get consolidated, at least to some extent, so that the larger players would have at least a 500 to 1,000 crore kind of a top line. Very similar to what's happening in the cotton industry. As that happens, as the consolidation happens, as the companies become larger, the larger companies will definitely put in either financial constraints or technology barriers for the mid-sized companies to get in there. A very good example of this is Tetra Pak, right? Not all of us can afford to have a Tetra Pak line or print for Tetra Pak or similar, or cans, for example. Printing of cans is a very complex or a very capital intensive business. So the larger units, to protect their investments and to protect their business, they will create technological barriers, maybe some kind of coatings, maybe some kind of patented, how pull-up caps are. There's a patent, and you can't go around that. How Gwala caps, they monopolized the market for almost 2 decades. So there will be technological barriers, both in terms of intellectual property and financial barriers. So something so expensive that medium printers would not be able to buy, or technically so complex or IP protected that mid-size printers would not be able to compete with. I also feel that machinery will become very sophisticated. There will be a lot of AI. There will be a lot of automation, and a lot of this, would be controlled by machinery manufacturers. So how today we call a mechanic who comes, takes a roller out from our machine, changes a bearing, grinds the shaft. A lot of this will not happen possibly in the next 10 to 15 years. Very similar to our cars. When we had the Maruti 800s and the Fiats and the Ambassador, everyone was a mechanic. Everyone could come with a hammer and fix your car. Today, if you're driving any car, it's all software controlled. Somewhere the manufacturer knows where you're driving the car, where is it fixed, when did you get it serviced. Today we have apps. For my car, my app tells me it's time to get a service done. So a lot of connectivity will happen, which will not allow us to do local maintenances, which means our maintenance costs will go totally above the roof. I also feel that pre-press as a business, and some people might not like me for saying this, but pre-press as a business, I think AI is going to take a large part of this business out. Because that is something which is repetitive, it is predictable, it is understandable. You could put the file in and say, I want a warm picture, I want my machine does so much of trapping. NSCO is probably already there to a large extent, but a lot less human intervention in pre-press, I feel, would happen. And a lot of this would be automated. So this is how I imagine the future would look like. So today, if you see, we have a lot of small printing companies, less than 20 crores, less than 10 crores. And we have a reasonable number of mid-sized players as well. And possibly smaller, larger companies. So in the label segment, I think there are maybe two or three who are over 100 crores, if I'm not wrong. What in 2030 will happen is some small shops will probably shut down. Specifically those who are not able to catch up with the art intrinsic part of the business. Mid-size would be the worst affected. Mid-sized, I feel, and I'll tell why in the next slide. Mid-sized, because your equipment will become very expensive. Your people will become very expensive. You will not have the leverage of funds, customers, technology. And a lot of larger players, at least a handful, 5 or 6 larger players in every segment, whether it's commercial, whether it's packed monocartons, labels, or flexible packaging, every segment, I feel, will see at least 5 to 10 large players. So in terms of manpower, and this is something very interesting, I feel the changes in manpower would be the biggest. The biggest challenge in 2030 and beyond would be to find people to run our machines and run our factories. Right? Today, the graduates from B.Tech colleges or even diploma colleges do not wish to run a printing press. Imagine tomorrow. Right? And of course, this would be the biggest challenge for mid-sized players. Smaller units, how we see it in Europe. I have been to a lot of print shops in Korea, in Japan, also in Europe. You see the father running the printing press, the son helping him out, the daughter doing admin, the mother managing finance. So the smaller businesses, I sense, will, with less automated machines, a lot of the family members will have to run the presses. Just because you will not find or be able to afford the talent required to run those presses with the same level of motivation. Another interesting thing that I perceive is the non-strategic sales. Today, the mid-sized companies especially, we have a lot of salespeople. Their job is to go sit in front of the customer and say, Sarji, next order kab aayega? Ye wala order mere ko de dijiye. So a one-to-one communication asking for business. I think there's a huge segment of so-called sales people. I sense that community is going to be hurt because of automation. The customers will not have time to talk to you or to talk to at least the junior level folks in the sales teams. It would be strategic purchase. It would, you would have once in a year annual meeting and then quarterly meetings and discuss how did you do in price, service, and quality. And done. That's it. Typically in print shops, from what I understand, and for us, the contribution of manpower, human resources, typically between 8 to 12% of our revenue in a mid to large size company. I sense this would probably jump up to 25 to 30% as people become more expensive. And very similar to Europe, where your gross margins have to be 60%, 65% plus. If your material cost is crossing 35%, you will not be able to make money. Some other aspects, I think sustainability would be an absolute driver in selection of print suppliers. So how, not just the materials that you buy or the story you have about that material of sustainability, but how sustainable is your own factory will also determine the customer choosing you. Compliance would be a very, very important part in the coming times. The government would be very strict. We all know EPR is here, and there would be more laws, whether in terms of labor, whether in terms of using cash, whether in terms of dumping our waste into the sewage. All of this would become very, very difficult, and the larger companies would make it even more difficult. They would come in with products or innovations like special inks which would have certain quality that they can decompose, or certain boards which can decompose. That would force us printers to only use those materials, and that obviously would have a cost impact for us, but it's a must. So compliance would become much more serious in the next 10 to 15 years. Some disruptive technologies like printed bottles, printed tubes. I lost a lot of business because we used to print labels for tubes. These toothpaste kind of tubes or cosmetic cream-like tubes. We used to sell crore plus labels every month. And suddenly, a technology came where you could print these tubes just as well. You could do screen printing, offset printing, hot foil, all in one pass. And at least 100 crores plus of our industry top line just went out overnight. Right? It just got done because a new disruptive technology came. So a lot of such disruptive technologies will come. We have all seen Carlsberg beer being produced in a plastic, in a paper bottle, right? Or Smirnoff vodka being made now in paper bottles, at least in some part. It's small now, but it's there, and it's scary. Because if your bottle doesn't require a label, guess what? You're not needed. Innovations, like everyone else said, would be a key driver, not only for the very small art-intrinsic companies, but also for the larger groups or conglomerates or PE-driven companies. Innovation possibly is the only way we would be able to make money. And in India, in my opinion, Jugaad innovation, or what they call as frugal innovation, will always remain as the way of life. It will always remain as a way of life because, end of the day, what is innovation? It is about doing more with less. Right? We all know that story of a beautiful pen being made for space and someone saying use a pencil, right? So those kind of Jugaad innovations, India will thrive on those Jugaad innovations. We've done it. And, let me take a quick, are we doing okay on time? A few minutes? Yeah. So I'll share my story of innovations. There is a liquor called Party Special Whiskey. Okay, it is... It was sold for 250 rupees for a bottle. In the year 2012, we went to the customer. That label was bought for 1 rupee 52 paisa, just the front label. It was produced on cast-coated paper, mirror coat paper, with hot foil and with UV varnish. And it was non-self-adhesive. So we jumped in. Step number 1, first day, we offered the label for 95 paisa. Guess how? We just cut the corruption. So no kickbacks. So the first point, corruption out, 92 paisa, 92, 95 paisa. Second step, we said, you know what, why are you printing this on cast-coated paper? Move it to chromo paper with hot foil, and we'll improve the varnish, and it will look just the same. We did that. The price came down to 75 paisa. Then again, a year later, I went to the customer. I said, please give me a price hike. Everything is increasing. He said, no, I can't really increase the price. So said, okay. So we converted the label from chromo stock plus hot foil to a metallized chromo stock. Okay. And matched the color. And with that, we were able to reduce the price from 62, 65 paisa to about 58 paisa. Finally, a year later, again we went to the client and said, sir, abhi increase do, ek saal ho gaya hai, give us a price rise. He said, no, cut it by another 10%. I said, what do you want? So finally, this is 2012-13, we installed that label stock manufacturing unit in-house. And we were able to cut down the cost of that silver metallized stock. And we were able to offer that same label at 52 paisa. So 1 rupee 52 paisa to 52 paisa we've already reached. The story doesn't end here. Okay? We have a meeting over a drink and customer says, can you do something more? My volumes are increasing. It's like, So we sat with a white paper. He said, okay, where are our costs? He said, okay, labels, printing cost, you can't reduce beyond certain efficiencies. You milk the assets to a point, you can't reduce it beyond a point. I will not reduce my profits. I mean, why are we working? If we are reducing profits, I'm making less, my customer is making more, doesn't make sense. So we again innovated. We noticed that metallization as a process, the cost of it was barely 2 rupees a square meter, but our suppliers were charging 7 rupees a square meter. So I said, there is a big hole here. Let me see what I can do. So instead of getting paper metallized, we laminated 8 micron metallized film on an uncoated map litho paper, 58 GSM. The sum of it was again 80 GSM. It looked just like the metallized paper. But guess what? This was 30% less expensive. 30% less expensive. We were buying metallized paper at about 34, 35 rupees a square meter. We were able to bring this down to 26 rupees. And I gave the customer a little bit, and rest we pocketed. So continuous innovations, and finally the price of that label came down to about 46 paisa. 46 paisa. In this entire journey of innovation, it's sort of borderline jugaad innovation, but sustainable jugaad innovation in the sense we made sure that it was consistent, it was correct, the quality was right. And with this, the 1 rupee 52 paisa label came down to, or let's say even 92 paisa label to start with, the honest cost of the label came down to some 36 paisa. While at every stage, we made only more money on that label and we did not sacrifice the profits. So this kind of disruptive or this kind of a jugaad innovation, I think is what the industry will need more in the coming times. I also feel, and especially for the larger companies in the coming times, absolute milking of assets would be necessary, which means you might need Industry 4.0 like sensors or a very, very strong data collection to know what are your OEEs. Are you running at 20% OEE, thinking that you're running very high and wanting to buy another press? And we all love buying presses, at least I do. As an engineer, I love a new thing to come play with. It's a nice press, I can press this button. But how do you make sure that your current level of assets are totally used? Because assets will be very expensive than today. People will be very expensive. So milking of assets, complete milking of assets would be something that 2030 would be an absolute need. It would not be an option. Now, so that's my thoughts on how 2030 would be Now, what have we done as an organization? Obviously, not everything, but some things in that direction to be ready for that period. We balance our business between volumes and margins. So we do very long run FMCG jobs to get volumes, to get the scale, but also do very premium liquor labels with 6 passes, 7 passes. Almost all the Indian single malts except one are decorated by us. So that is where the margins come from. But these are less expensive machines. But because there is a lot of art element in it, no one asks us for a cross breakup. We are currently evaluating collaborations with larger groups to see how we could scale up and sort of jump from that mid-size to the large size. We talked about the Center of Excellence in Label Printing. So this is to help us generate enough manpower, continuous supply of manpower that we would need in the coming years. ERP, in fact, we were one of the first ones to start ERP in the label industry back in 2011, and we are upgrading it now. And the new ERP now is coming with all auto updates. So it will integrate with our customer. The customer will not send us his purchase order on an email. It will be integrated. The orders will automatically come into the system. There would be no one to sit and make an entry. And I hope we will not require the first level team to pick up the phone and say, yeah, Sarji, your order is in print now. It will get dispatched tomorrow. So this is a total non-value added work. So we want technology to do this, and our new ERP, we hope, will be able to do this. We continue to not so far buy equipment from the regular larger manufacturers. We hope to develop and grow these machines with our partners even better so that we don't have to buy from outside as much. We have put in a new quality team this year with an absolute focus on producing the top quality. In sustainability, again, everyone talks about sustainability, but no one wants to do it because no one wants to cut his pocket for the environment. And that's the reality. The customer doesn't want to cut his pocket for the environment, but he wants you to cut your pocket for environment. Can't happen, right? So unless green is also cost effective, that idea can never, never, never be successful. I'm absolutely clear, especially in a country like India where our margins, and it's not that it's the lowest margin country. That is our way of life. We switch off lights when we go outside the room. We are taught not to waste water when we are brushing our teeth. This is our culture of not wasting. You go live in America, your air conditioners are on the whole day, right? Whether you're sitting in the living room or not. So that's a way of life for Indians to do more with less, right? So I really feel that sustainability will not happen unless we innovate. I'll give you an example again. We used to use, and we still use, and most of the industry uses glassine liner. The backing paper of labels, it's a glassine liner. It cannot be recycled. There are claims that it can be downcycled. It definitely cannot be upcycled, and it's generally burnt or goes to landfill. We came up with a very simple concept of a liner which can be completely recycled and which is also less expensive. And guess what? Just last week I was doing trials, and it had an immediate strike. There was an immediate connect with the customers, like, yeah, I can go showcase that I have put in something sustainable, while also this guy is giving me cost benefit. So unless cost comes along with sustainable solution, my sense is no one is going to buy that idea. So we can try, I mean, there can be lobbies, there can be technological barriers for that. That's a different story. But in a neutral environment, sustainability has to come with cost reduction. And I feel some of our technologies do offer that. For us, multi-locations helped us maintain better service levels to our customers. And from day one, we have been a zero kickback company. So absolutely no kickback. We work with our values. So I don't say we are totally ready for 2030, or any of us would be, but at least certain things we need to do today to be today and now to be ready for the next 10 years, how things have to happen. That's all that I have. If you would like to, I'm open for questions and discussion. If there are ideas on what else will happen in 2030 beyond what the three of us talked about, and what we can do to be ready. Thank you.